Hi everyone, it's Kieron from Proteus Astrology, and I'm going to take you on this little tour that I went on. It's already a throwback to December 2021. We spent 3 days in the Lake District looking at these places. The first place we stopped at was Pendragon Castle, and that was easy to access from the road. It's still in ruins, but apparently in the 17th century, Lady Anne Clifford renovated the whole place and redesigned it, but it's fallen into ruin again. I liked it because these trees were particularly striking, like nervous systems jutting up out of the ground. A little bit like a Guillermo del Toro film. Very atmospheric place. And then we went to Brough Castle, which was nearby, and this was a much bigger affair, with the turrets and the keep still more or less intact, half ruined, not as ruined as Pendragon Castle. Apparently Lady Anne Clifford restored this one as well. The thing about this one was that it still had the ramparts and the latrines or the privies, and it was surrounded by banks and ditches. They do tend to corral you into certain pathways as you go through, which I don't like, but still you can wander around. There weren't very many people there. This is a view through the keep, a vista across the landscape. That's me there trying to keep warm. It's a bit of a pilgrimage for me to go to these places because I hadn't been to the Lake District for decades really, and so it was wonderful to be able to see these places. Inside a local church there, it was interesting to see Masonic symbolism on the pulpit. The church has a lot of explaining to do sometimes. And then we went to this very strange place, the Kemp Stowe Circle, which was split in two by a railway line next to a cement works. And this is the Goggleby stone. What I was doing there was touching the stones to get a feeling. This one definitely had character. This is called psychometry. You just touch the stones to get a feeling of it. And you can get an impression. And there are definitely energy lines here. If you know the work of Rory Duff, you will know that there are dragon lines, energy lines, and ley lines. Then we went to Shap Abbey, and the big joke here was that there were Premonstratensian monks, or canons, that established this place. It was very scenic. The approach to the abbey was across a river, and some of the locals were exercising their dogs. The little white one there didn't dare go into the river because it was probably too cold for it and would have washed it away. Here you can see the scale of the archway approaching the abbey, and you always get these kinds of signs from the Ministry of Works, telling you not to do things. The anal types are everywhere. So this was Shap Abbey. There was another castle nearby called Lowther Castle, which had almost been turned into a theme park. But this is the place that I had really wanted to go to, which is Castlereagh Stone Circle. So this is the epic moment for me. We got up very early on the solstice morning, and as an astrologer I couldn't help but look at the chart for that moment. Sunrise was at 8:33. The sun at 0 would have been later that day, but the moon was in Cancer. So this chart is good to go until the equinox in April this year, 2022. And it still has the remnants of the Saturn and Uranus square and Venus, of course, conjunct Pluto. So this is the approach to Castle Rig, which is in Keswick. Quite spectacular, and I think this was the moment for me that made it worthwhile. It would be nice to come in summer, but since it was winter solstice, the weather was cold but not unbearable. And as you can see, not very many people, but they were attentive and respectful of the stones. There is this idea that as you approach a circle like this, which direction do you go in? People talk about circumambulation. If you go clockwise, it does one thing, but if you go anti-clockwise, it does another. Anti-clockwise is called widdershins. My natural instinct was to go clockwise, and some people say that sends the energy upwards, and others went the other way, which drives the energy into the earth. There was a pagan-style witch there who had created an altar, and of course I put 3 coins on the altar, because I've learned the hard lesson that one should make some kind of offering to these places just out of respect. The stones, of course, had character, and they are meant to be a simulacra of the hills around. And so you can just about make out shape of each one of them, representing the surrounding hills. And that's what makes it spectacular, because it conceptually it radiates from this point around to the surrounding area. And if you want to know the names, that's some kind of wand or shillelagh there. You want to know the names of the mountains surrounding that these stones are aligned with or pointing to. You have mountains like Blencathra, Mel Fell, High Seat, Helpfellin, Balebury Fell, Cat Bells, Causey Pike, Grisdale Pike, and Skiddaw. And even in the grey skies, you can see that it's quite an amazing place, really. I think the sun was just about coming out by 8:30. Since Castle Rig is actually in Keswick, we went to Keswick for breakfast. And yes, the sun did come out. Keswick is a beautiful town. A lot of the buildings are made of the local stone, so the sunlight picks up the colours, pink, blue and grey. A lot of slate is used in the construction. And nearby is Derwent Water. This is famously linked with the writer John Ruskin, who apparently when he was about 5 years old, he has, I think, the place called Friar's Crag, where he felt the intimations of his first poem coming through. He wrote in his autobiography, apparently, so that's commemorated at this point. And Derwent Water was very scenic and beautiful. Again, even in the cold weather, you can appreciate the serenity of the landscape, the beauty. John Ruskin himself didn't live here. He eventually settled in Coniston, Lake Coniston, and of course we had a little robin pop by. They are usually harbingers of good luck, so that was nice. Then we went to Long Meg, and that was a different atmosphere. I think a lot colder, and I felt less positive in some ways. So there was not necessarily demonic, but definitely a bit wilder. These stones have a strange story attached. Long Meg herself is the independent stone standing outside the circle, much larger than Castle Rig, and it took about maybe 10 minutes to walk around all the stones separately. The story is that Long Meg was a witch and her daughters were all dancing merrily away on the Sabbath, and that was deemed sacrilege or blasphemy, so they were all turned to stone. So whatever you make of that story is up to you. That's Meg of Meldon. The stones all have character. I did the same thing, touching each stone to get a vibration from them. And the story goes also that you don't mess around with these stones. If you try to move them, you'll get bad luck. And if you scratch the stones, they could bleed human blood, apparently. And that is the local law of Long Meg. There's a similar circle nearby called Little Meg, but my battery had run out, so I couldn't take any photos of that. Then this is an aerial picture of the hotel. I just wanted to show this because it had a definite feel of the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, a little bit, although it was in a very scenic place. This is the facade of the hotel, Shapps Wells. Beautiful place, very creaky, probably haunted, and the local area nearby is wonderful. It's a place where two rivers meet, so I always think that elemental energy is very high at that point. And there was also a red squirrel sanctuary. Beautiful place, very peaceful. And there's the well, one of the wells at Shapps Wells. On the third day, we went to Clifton Hall Peel Tower. Apparently, Lady Anne Clifford is associated with this place as well. You could go inside, and there was no one here when we were there. And you can go to the upper floor. There's a gallery. You just go up a small staircase, and you can see it there. That's apparently where Lady Anne Clifford's bedroom was. This is near to Maybury Henge, and we did walk around the stones there to create a kind of vortex of energy. We also went to Penrith, the Druid's Arms, but of course there aren't really any Druids anymore. Not genuine Druids from the ancient past, but they trade on that. And then we went to Dove Cottage, the home of William and Dorothy Wordsworth. It wasn't part of the plan, but it was a very interesting place that stimulated interest in Wordsworth poetry, and also Coleridge, who stayed at Grasmere, actually not in this cottage. So there are many famous poets associated with the Lake District. So that was the tour. I didn't take photos of some of those places because there wasn't time, and my battery ran out. It was an amazing experience. And what I'd just like to do is repeat this approach to Castle Rig, and if I may, just read something that Tom Sheridan wrote from his book, The Druid Code. Visitor numbers to places such as Newgrange and Tara in Ireland and other ancient sacred sites continue to rise. People now regularly wander off the tourist trails to locate and touch remote dolmens in muddy farmers' fields, or to enter passage mounds on barren hilltops, just so they can interact with the stones and wonder about their own ancestors, driven by an often inexplicable need to encounter and imagine who constructed such stones, and then marvel at how they selected these specific places so as to erect megaliths upon them, in such precise geographical and astronomical alignments. So thank you very much for listening. Those are my details there. Contact me at proteusastrology.co.uk. And thanks to Neil for doing the Megalith Tour. And I would definitely go again. I would like to go in summer, actually. Thank you again.